Hey everyone, welcome back to POL Sci 701, Techniques of Political Science Research. In the past couple of weeks, we talked about a bunch of different concepts and methodologies to quantify the level of uncertainty around our estimates. So for example, a couple of weeks back when we introduced OLS, we talked about bias as an important concept. We talked about standard errors and how to compute confidence intervals in recent weeks. And in this week, we want to kind of finish up and wrap up that discussion by introducing this idea of hypothesis testing. And specifically, we will talk about this in the context of, first in the context of simple bivariate tests or univariate tests, but then we will also talk about this in the context of OLS regression, and more generally talk about how we can quantify uncertainty around our inferences in the OLS framework that we talked about a bunch in the past couple of weeks. Okay, so let's take a brief look at the outline for this week. First, I want to revisit some of the topics that we talked about in the last 2 weeks, because in the previous Q&A session, there were still a couple of open questions and a little bit of confusion regarding the interpretation of the central limit theorem, what exactly sampling distribution means, and how we relate to this, or how we kind of think about uncertainty in the context of repeated data generating processes. So I want to kind of take a step back and in the first video and kind of revisit some of those key concepts again, and hopefully kind of clarify some of those open questions that you still had in the last Q&A session. In the next video, I will talk about hypothesis testing in the context of univariate test differences in means and t-tests. Then we'll talk a little bit more generally about types of errors we can make in the context of hypothesis testing, and we'll talk about statistical power of hypothesis tests. And then in the last set of videos, I will talk about regression and uncertainty. So how do we quantify uncertainty around our regression coefficients, okay? As always, here's the to-do list for this week. Ideally, before our next Q&A session, or within that week of that Q&A session, of course, as always, go through the lecture videos, read Imai. Little typo. Read Imai the remaining chapters 7.2 to 7.5. And then work on assignment 11, which will be posted on Canvas in our Studio Cloud on Monday, and then you'll have, as always, a week to hand that assignment in. Assignment 10, remember, is due on Tuesday after our next Q&A session. Okay. That's it for the overview. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the central limit theorem, sampling distributions, and uncertainty.